Hello everybody. Today we are going to see applications of Gauss theorem. I have already told you that Gauss theorem is used to find the electric field due to a source charge. Today we will see that how we can find the electric field applying Gauss theorem due to various source charges. So first we will take a point charge. Okay, we have taken a point source charge. Due to point source charge, how we can find the electric field at any arbitrary point P that we are going to see. You can see here I have considered a positive point source charge lying here. You can consider this as a center O. So first of all, what we will do, we will draw a Gaussian surface which will enclose the source charge. And I have told you, we will choose the Gaussian surface in such a way that the shape of the surface should be in symmetry with the source charge. So here it is a point source charge. So the Gaussian surface which we will choose, that will be a sphere, because the sphere will act as a symmetry with this point source charge. So we have chosen a Gaussian surface which is a sphere. And the second thing I have told you, that the Gaussian surface should pass through the point where we have to calculate the electric field, where we have to find the electric field. So this is point P where we have to find the electric field, and the point P was at a distance r from the source charge Q. So we have chosen the Gaussian surface which is a sphere in such a way that the sphere is passing through this point P. You can see here the sphere is passing through this point P where we have to find the electric field, and therefore the distance of the point P from the charge Q has become what? The radius of this sphere. Now what we will do, we will take a small element of that sphere. We have taken a small element from that sphere. The area vector of that small element will be dA vector, and the direction of the area vector of that small element will be normally outward. So you can see here dA is the area vector of the small element which we have chosen from this sphere, and the direction of this dA vector is normally outward. Okay. Now let us talk about the electric field which is coming out from this source charge Q. That can be represented by the line of forces. So the electric field from this point charge will be like this. Okay. So you can see the electric field which will come out from this point source charge, that will go and it will strike the sphere radially. Okay, it will meet the surface of the sphere radially, or we can say the direction of the electric field from this point source charge, that will be radially outward. That will be what? Radially outward, perpendicular to the surface of the sphere, you can say. So the electric field due to this small element of the sphere is shown here. The direction of the electric field due to this small element of the sphere is shown here, and that is also radially outward. That is also what? Radially outward. You can see here that the electric field E and the area vector of this small element of the sphere they are coinciding with each other. The direction is coinciding with each other. They are parallel as well as coinciding with each other. That will be the case with all the part of this sphere. Now what we will do, we will find the electric flux due to this sphere. Electric flux, I have already told you, that is the integral of electric field and the area vector dA. So phi, which is the electric flux, that will be equal to what? Integral E dot dA. When you perform the integral operation, you will get phi equal to E A cos theta, where this A is what? Total surface area of the sphere there. So phi will be equal to E A cos theta. Theta will be what? Theta will be the angle between the electric field and the area vector. Already I have told you. Theta will be the angle between electric field and the area vector. Now you can see, since electric field and the area vector both are coinciding with each other, therefore the angle between them will be what? 0. So we will write here EA cos 0. Cos 0, we know that is equal to what? 1. Therefore phi will be equal to E into A. A is the total area of the sphere here. And we know that the total area of the sphere, that will be equal to what? 4 pi r square. And here the radius is the distance of the point from the source charge Q. So we will say phi will be equal to E into 4 pi r square. Here r is the radius of the sphere, or you can say distance of the point P from the source charge Q. Now we will apply Gauss theorem to find the electric flux. And I have told you, Gauss theorem says that electric flux phi, that will be equal to what? Net charge Q enclosed within the Gaussian surface upon epsilon naught. So phi will be equal to Q upon epsilon naught. And Q is what? The total charge inside the Gaussian surface. So total charge is Q only. Now you can see that this electric flux, due to Gauss theorem, and this electric flux both can be equated because both are same thing. So these two can be equated. So we can say integral E dot dA will be equal to Q upon epsilon naught. And integral E dot dA already we have found, and that is equal to what? E into 4 pi r square. So we'll write here E into 4 pi r square is equal to Q upon epsilon naught. From this equation, what will happen? 4 pi r square will go on the other side at the denominator place. So we'll get E is equal to Q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square. This is how we used to apply Gauss theorem, and we used to find the electric field at any point due to a source charge. Okay, this is how we apply Gauss theorem. Now, in this, two more cases are there. If there is a uniform shell, uniformly charged cell, then what will happen? See, if there is a uniformly charged spherical shell, this is a uniformly charged spherical shell. of radius r. Capital R is the radius of this uniformly charged spherical shell, and the point P where we have to find the electric field due to this uniformly charged spherical shell, that is located at a distance r. From the shell. How we will find the electric field at the point P due to this uniformly charged spherical shell? The same thing will apply. The point P, which is situated outside the spherical shell, that is at a distance r from small r from this spherical shell. Now what will happen? We will assume or we will consider the spherical shell to be a point charge only. We will assume or consider the spherical shell to be a point charge. Now when we will assume the spherical shell to be a point charge, then what will happen? The same procedure we will follow, and therefore the electric field due to a uniformly charged spherical shell at a point P outside the spherical shell at a distance small r will be equal to Q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square. Now if the point P was situated on the surface of the spherical shell, then what would have happened? Then only a small change will be there. At the place of small r, we'll write what? Capital R, the radius of the spherical shell. All other things will be same. Note here that Q is what? Q is the total charge of the spherical shell. Is that clear? Similarly, if there was a uniformly charged sphere, then what would have happened? Then also the uniformly charged sphere will be considered as a point charge, and the same procedure we will apply. Finally, we will get the result E is equal to total charge Q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square only, where r will be the distance of the point from the uniformly charged sphere. So these were the two other cases in which the spherical shell or the uniformly charged sphere both will be treated as a point charge, and the same procedure will be applied, and we will find the electric field, which will come out to be Q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square. Is that clear? Now we are going to see the next application, that is electric field due to a infinite linear charge. We are going to see electric field due to infinite linear charge. Okay, we are having a infinite linear charge You can see here, this is a linear charge which extends at both the ends infinitely. Okay. So if this is the situation, if this is the case, then how we can find the electric field? By applying Gauss theorem, we are going to see that. So the same thing we'll do. first of all we will choose a Gaussian surface which should have a shape in symmetry with this source charge, and after that we will see that the point at which we are going to find the electric field, that point should lie on the surface of the Gaussian surface which we have chosen. So these two things first of all we will do. So for a linear charge, can we choose a sphere? Will the sphere act as a symmetry for this linear charge? No, it is not possible. Okay. So for a linear charge, we will choose a cylinder. Okay. We'll choose a cylinder which will be coaxial to this linear charge. Okay, we'll choose a cylinder which will be coaxial to this linear charge. Now suppose the point at which we are interested to find the electric field, that point is P, and I told you the point must lie on the surface of the Gaussian surface. So this is the Gaussian surface, the cylinder is the Gaussian surface, and point P is lying on the curved part of this Gaussian surface. What we will do, again we will take a small element and we will find the area vector. So the small element of this Gaussian surface we have taken, and the area vector of this small element is dA, which will be radially outward. Now let us talk about the electric field in this case. So in this case, the electric field due to line charge, that will be like this. On both sides you can see. Okay, the electric field will be like this. So we can see that the electric field on the curved part of this cylinder, that will be also what? Radially outward. Note that point P is situated from this linear charge at a distance r. Okay, which is the radius of this curved part of the cylinder also. So from here we can see that the electric field will be radially outward. So again, what will happen? The electric field and the area vector, area vector will coincide with each other. If we are talking about the curved part of this cylinder, then what will happen? The electric field and the area vector will coincide with each other, or you can say the angle between electric field and the area vector will be 0. Now let us talk about the angle between the area vector and the electric field at the plane faces of this cylinder. So if we are talking about the angle between electric field and the area vector at the plane faces of the end of the cylinder, then what will happen? The area vector on this plane surface will be normally outward. So this is your area vector. If we have chosen a small element here, then what will happen? The area vector of that small element will be what? normally outward, because the plane face of the cylinder will be like this. Okay, so area vector will be normally outward, but the electric field, its direction will be still horizontal only. Okay, the electric field will have the direction horizontal only. So here you can see that the angle between the area vector and the electric field is 90 degree. The same thing will happen here also. We take a small element on this plane face of the cylinder, and area vector will be again normally outward. This is your area vector, but the electric field here also will be horizontal only. Electric field here also will be what? Horizontal. So again you can see that here theta is equal to what? 90 degree. Here also theta is equal to what? 90 degree. But here theta is equal to what? 0 degree. So from this we can conclude that the electric field, or you can say electric flux. Okay, from here we can say that the electric flux will be due to the curved part of the cylinder only. The plane faces of the ends of the cylinder will not give us the electric flux, because theta is equal to 90 degree and cos 90 is equal to what? 0. Whatever electric flux we will get, that will be due to the curved part of the cylinder. So we can say that the electric flux phi will be equal to integral E dot dA. Phi will be equal to E A cos theta, which will be equal to E A cos 0. Okay. Note that the electric flux due to the plane faces of the end of the cylinder, that will be 0, because theta is equal to 90 degrees. So we are not including the surface area of the plane faces here. We will not include the surface area of the plane face. Here the area A, that will be due to the curved part only. Okay. So we can say phi will be equal to EA, and that will be equal to E into 2 pi RL. Okay. As I have told you, we will only take the area of the curved part of the cylinder. The two ends will not be considered. Why? Because the electric flux at the two ends of the cylinder, that will be what? 0. So we know the curve due to the area of the curved part of a cylinder, that is equal to what? 2 pi RL. Here L is what? Here L is the length of the cylinder. Okay. Here L is the length of the cylinder. So phi will be equal to E into 2 pi RL. Now what we have to do? Now we have to apply Gauss theorem and we have to find the electric flux here. So Gauss theorem says that the electric flux phi, that will be equal to Q upon epsilon naught. Q upon epsilon naught. Or we can say in terms of charge density, it will be equal to lambda L upon epsilon naught. Okay. Lambda is what? Lambda is the charge density of this linear charge. Okay, lambda is the charge density of this linear charge. So total charge Q will be equal to charge density into lambda L. Again you can see that this electric flux and this electric flux both will be same. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll equate, we'll say integral E dot dA will be equal to Q upon epsilon naught. Integral E dot dA we have calculated, that is how much? E into 2 pi RL will be equal to Q upon epsilon naught. From here you will get E is equal to Q upon 2 pi R L epsilon naught. Okay, Q upon 2 pi R L epsilon naught. But we know Q is equal to what? Lambda L. So we can say lambda L upon 2 pi R L epsilon naught. Now you can see L will be cancelled from here. This L and this L will be cancelled, and finally we will get E is equal to lambda upon 2 pi R epsilon naught. Okay, so this is the electric field due to a linear charge at a point P situated at a distance R, where lambda is what? Lambda is the charge density, R is the distance of the point P from the linear charge. So this is how we have found this. That's all for today. In the next video, we'll talk about electric field due to a uniformly charged plane sheet. Thank you.